Alright, it's Henry again, and this is probably going to be my one and only work in progress video for the Master Grade Double Zeta Gundam Verka. And this is just going to be a straight out of the box paint job. Not going to be doing any modifications to the kit, just giving it a nice clean paint job. Now, I originally said in the unboxing video that I had the enhanced Double Zeta parts, the P Bandai option kit that comes for this. But I'm not going to be using that on this kit after all. So I'm just going to be painting it as the standard Double Zeta Gundam. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of difference between the two. The feet are a little bit longer, the skirt armor is a little bit longer. It's got some extra blocky detail things up there. The missile pods are a little bit bigger. That's about it. It's not a huge difference. So this is basically just how I'm going to be approaching the kit. Not going to be doing a radically different color scheme, but I am going to be changing up the colors a little bit. I want to do kind of a more, I don't want to say muted color scheme, but the white I want to tone down. In fact, I've got some colors here that I'm thinking about using. For most of the white parts, not all of them, but most of the white parts, I'm thinking about using something similar to this. This is Mr. Color 336 Hemp, and I might actually lighten this up with a little bit of white because I really like the shade of it. It's a nice, warm, light brownish gray color, but I think I want that to be a little bit lighter. Just kind of making a warm off-white color. That's what I'm going for. And I am going to throw in some white in addition to this. So I'll be using my GX white here for a few small details, maybe like these little rectangles on the shoulder armor, or these little thingies that protrude off the skirt armor. Just little things like that. For the blue parts, I've kind of got it down between these two. My kind of standard Gundam blue is this Mr. Color GX blue. I think I might go a little bit darker and use this Tamiya pure blue. It's not quite as dark as some of my other blues, but it's just a little bit darker than the GX blue, so I might go with this. And then for the yellow and red, I've got, this is a Gaia color from their Virtual On series. This is a very orangey yellow color. It's really good for like Verka paint jobs because Kotoki tends to go more towards the orange yellow than a bright pure yellow. So I'll probably use that for the yellow parts. And then for the red, I'll use, this is actually my favorite red paint. This is also from Gaia. It's from their Nazca line. And this is Flame Red. This is the best red paint I've ever seen in my life. I use it for almost every Gundam kit that I've done in the past, I don't know, almost 4 or 5 years now is when I bought this bottle. Or not bought it, somebody gave it to me, but I'd use this for almost all my Gunpla projects. It's just a super bright, almost fluorescent red, but it's awesome. So that's what I'm going to end up using for the color scheme, and enough talking, let's get to painting. Alright, so this is part of the backpack, and I'm painting this with a custom mix brownish gray. It's basically just white, black, and brown paint, and going to go over the whole inner frame and joint parts with a nice even coat of this. Next up are the tan parts. Now for this I used Mr. Color, I think 322 Hemp. It's a very light tan, almost with a slight greenish tint to it. And just going to do an even layer of that all over, and then go back and highlight it with a little bit of white. Now for the blue parts, what I did is I started off with a black primer, and I just let that be my shading. And then I'm using Tamiya's lacquer paint True Blue, And I'm going over that a couple of layers just to get a nice base color of the dark blue, and then I'm going to go in the open areas and highlight where I want it to be a little bit brighter. Now for the red parts, I find that red looks better when you do actual pre-shading. So what I'm doing is I started off with white primer, and instead of black, I'm using purple for my pre-shading just to give my red colors a bit more depth to them. And then, when all the pre-shading is applied, I'll go over the part with an even coat of red paint. I usually just do a couple of coats on top of pre-shading, because if you do too much, your pre-shading is going to disappear. So you don't want to put too many layers of paint on there, so I usually stop at 2. Now for my yellow parts, I did a little bit of pre-shading with some brown, and then I just went over that with a coat of a nice vibrant orangey yellow. Now for the clear parts for the canopies, I actually used 2 different clear colors. I started off with clear blue, and then I went over it again with clear smoke gray to give it kind of an effect of clear dark blue. And these are the black parts. Went over the whole thing with an even coat of black, and then I'm just going in with dark gray to do the highlighting in the open areas. For the gunmetal parts, I started off with a gloss black base coat, and then just used my custom mix of black and silver, and it makes for a pretty good gunmetal. Now, if you're not really sure what Pledge Floor Care is, OG modelers know it as future floor polish. Basically, what I'm doing is going over the tan parts with this floor polish, because the tan was a flat paint, and decals and panel lines don't work very well on top of flat paint, so you want to give it a nice gloss clear coat first. And the Pledge Floor Care is simply a really cheap alternative to using an acrylic or lacquer gloss top coat, especially when you're just doing it for panel lines and decals, not necessarily for the finishing top coat. So, just a little modeler's hint there. And now onto the panel lines. I'm using Artist Oil Paint for the panel lines. You could also use enamel paints. Those are oil-based as well. I find that the Artist Oil paints are less sticky than enamel, so they're a bit easier to work with and handle after you've done the panel lining. And I'm just thinning that down with some oil, mineral spirits, white spirit, whatever you want to call it, and doing a pin wash for the panel lines. And now it's time for decals. Nothing really special or informative here. You've seen me do decals tons of times. I've got a water slide decal tutorial if you feel like going to watch that. But other than that, pretty standard procedure for these. And now it's time for top coat. I'm going over the whole kit with a All-Clad 2 clear acrylic semi-matte top coat to give it a nice semi-gloss finish. Didn't go over the metallic parts though, only the parts that were regular colors. Alright, so here is the finished Double Zeta Gundam Verka. Sorry, my lighting in here isn't great, so, but I'll put some photos up after this segment of the video. So anyway, I'm actually really pleased with how this guy turned out. The tan and the white, I feel like, was a pretty good choice. It's something I saw on Vicious Project, a resin kit manufacturer from way back in the day, like 10 years ago. I don't think they're around anymore. But they had a Double Zeta Gundam resin kit, and I remember in their promo art, it was painted up in this kind of tan and white combination, and I always thought that looked really good. So that's what I wanted to do for mine, but I think it actually turned out pretty well. Let's see if I can... I don't know if it's actually gonna... Well, yeah, it zoomed in a little bit, so... I am pretty gosh darn happy with this guy, and like I said, I'll put some photos up. The build actually wasn't all that difficult. As far as Verka master grades go, it really wasn't all that bad. I know a lot of Kotoki's kits tend to be really unnecessarily complex, but this one felt like a good balance between simplicity and complexity. It wasn't complex just for the sake of being complex, like New Gundam Verka and Sasebe Verka. This guy had a nice feel to it, and I really appreciate that. I'm kind of glad Kotoki seems to be pulling it back with the unnecessary detail in his more recent master grades. So overall, pretty happy. The decals are just the ones that came with the kit. I actually had a little bit of trouble with them. I don't know if it was just me or if it was the sheet of decals in there, but they were just being really finicky. Nothing too bad. I mean, as you can see, they turned out more or less fine, but just finicky decals this time around. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut here and roll some slideshow photos of the Double Zeta so you can see it all up close and get all the nice detail and stuff. So with that, I'll see you guys next time.